Well, Kirsty was bubbling. "I only just heard," she exclaimed. "But I'm told you already know about this." She crashed onto a chair and she looked me straight in the eye. "Well, what do you know about them? About those 6 Israelis dressed as Levitical priests who tried to get into the chamber?" "You've got to tell me," she pressed. "You know, the chamber that contains the Ark of the Covenant. Well, what happened to them? Were they really rabbis?" I just looked at her, but she was not going to let go. Well, I paused for a few moments. I studied her wide eyes. I wondered just how much should be revealed at this time. "Well, we don't know if they were rabbis or not," I said to her. "However, we were in Jerusalem at that time, and we did have direct interaction with one person involved in the event. We were talking about an event that took place very close to in Jerusalem to a place known as Skull Hill. It's always been its name because it is part of an old quarry face that was left as it was and has the appearance of a skull. Now, if you go into Jerusalem and then you head north outside the old city walls, the Ark of the Covenant is calculated to be 370 feet north of the old city wall. And this locates inside Arab territory.
Well, that's interesting. Is that toward the the Mount of Olives?
Yep. And well, it seems the Israeli authorities wanted to move the Ark out of the Arab-occupied section of Jerusalem into their own territory. So reportedly, they allowed, or else they arranged, for 6 men who were dressed in the ancient Levitical garb to go in and move the Ark. Well, with this subject, if you're in Jerusalem, you just don't ask too many questions. It's a very sensitive issue, and I explained this to Kirsty. In fact, in matters like this, you don't ask too many questions at all. As I just said, you learn from experience that it's best not to get too nosy. And to put you in the picture as well as Kirsty, my wife Josephine and I had arranged to meet our archaeologist friend Ron Wyatt in Jerusalem. However, on this occasion, he was delayed in his home in Nashville, Tennessee, because he had to undergo a minor operation. But our schedule demanded we couldn't wait longer if there was a delay, that we had to fly out because we had interconnecting flights to other appointments that we could not miss. So we had to fly out before he came in. Now, on his visits to Israel, Ron has often quite stopped by the Antiquities Office and asked if there was anything he could do to help them. He had certain electronic equipment and some experience using it, so our team was able to help find things for them that they sometimes had trouble locating. Well, that night, when Ron flew in, he was to meet them down at Zedekiah's cave. And they went into the cave. Zedekiah's cave, by the way, is a hollowed out area underneath the streets of old Jerusalem inside the city walls, but it has a tunnel going from it northward towards Skull Hill. So in any case, they went in, and once they were inside the cave, at the entrance to the tunnel that goes north, they stopped. And the Antiquities man said, "Ron, 6 men went down this tunnel to move the Ark to a safer place, but they didn't come out. Would you go and see what happened to them?" Now, I should say that the Israelis are not cowards by any stretch of the imagination. And as it was, the 6 missing men who entered the tunnel had walkie-talkies, 2-way radios with them. and undoubtedly they were in contact with others at the entrance to the tunnel who did not go in with them. We can only surmise that they must have made some horrifying noises as they died. Otherwise, some people would have gone in to see what happened to them. But nobody would go in. Well, Ron had been in before, several times, and when Ron went in this time, there were the 6 men lying on their backs, dead. Now, from the beginning of the tunnel in Zedekiah's cave, I've placed an aerial view here with the tunnel going north from the cave. From the beginning of this tunnel in the cave to the actual chamber containing the Ark of the Covenant is an estimated 370 feet. Now, for those who deal with metres, it'll be about 114 metres. And the 6 men had progressed approximately 70 feet, 21 metres, along the tunnel when they died. And all of them died in the same place together, and they all died of a stroke. Now, I spoke to a medical doctor about this a little later, and I was informed that every one of these men was found with both their eyes crossed, and the medical doctor assured me that this was evidence of a bilateral stroke, a stroke occurring on both sides of the body. And this allegedly happened to the whole 6 of them. Anyway, when Ron saw what had happened, he went back out and told the antiquities guys. Now that brought along some rescue baskets made of lightweight alloy with ropes tied to them in case Ron was able to go in. So he took a basket, he picked up each body one at a time, put it in the basket as the men at the tunnel entrance pulled the basket out. When they got one to the entrance of the tunnel, Ron took another one, then went back and did another until he got all 6 of the bodies out. Now, Ron did not ask what they did with these men. He didn't ask anything. He was asked not to say anything. But this did appear in a couple of newspapers, that there had been 6 Israelis who had died in an effort to retrieve a national artefact. And because it was in the papers, some folk have asked if we knew about it. And the answer, of course, is yes. And this is the reason I have shared this information up to this stage right now.
What year was this roughly, Jonathan?
This was 1995.
Okay.
It was October 1995.
Right.
Now, this incident may remind you of some biblical accounts in which unauthorized men who approached, they touched or looked into the ark and they dropped dead. So apparently nothing has changed. The ark remains a very sacred object even at this moment. And if you ask me, it will remain where it is and no one will move it.
Now, what are the qualifications for being near the ark? You have to be, number 1, a Cohen, and you have to be sanctified. In fact, I know that from my family, they told me the story, that they would sing the prayers in a cappella, and they'd tie a rope around the right leg of the high priest that drew the straw, because there are 24 families in the cycle. And if you're unrighteous, when you poured the blood over the horns of the altar, God killed you on the spot if you were unrighteous, and you were hauled out because they could hear the prayer stop, and they knew that you were struck by God and died instantly.
That is correct, yes, and Jewish tradition confirms that that was a practice.
Right.
Now, this is a knife edge. Israel today is on tenterhooks. The government is nervous. It does not want war, neither do most of the people, whether they're Israelis or Arabs. But it is against this background that we must view the current official attitude toward this reported Ark of the Covenant discovery. You won't get them to admit much. Whatever way you view it, that ancient golden chest from Solomon's temple is potentially the most explosive object on earth. whether you look at it from an archaeological viewpoint or political or religious. And so this barrier of silence should not be a surprise to us. Now, we do know that in virtually every country, whether it be the United States, New Zealand, Poland or wherever, official denials of numerous matters are standard procedure.
Right, you're showing Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada there.
That's right.
Pierre Elliott Trudeau's son.
And in such cases, almost all personnel, even in the department concerned, are kept in the dark. So we should not be surprised at the conspiracy of silence that's going on here regarding this discovery and the events associated with it. Now, a classic example of the denials policy in action in Israel was seen a few years ago after Channel 7 radio in Israel broke the news that Foreign Minister Shimon Peres, at that time, had met with the Pope in the Vatican with a proposal to place the old city of Jerusalem under Vatican control. Israel's ambassador in Rome, Shmuel Hadass, and Peres himself denied such a plan. However, a copy of a telegram sent by Miriam Ziff to the Foreign Ministry in Jerusalem outlining Peres' plans, it surfaced and was printed in the Hatzofi, I hope I pronounced that correctly, newspaper.
By the way, Peres is a high-level Jesuit affiliate. He was trained by Jesuits.
That is correct.
And that's the reason why the Jesuits have wanted, and in the past 4 decades have bought up more than 70% of the property around, and including, I think they recently got the building they consider the place of the Last Supper.
Yes, that they've been buying up feverishly.
Right.
And former Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir told the Jewish press that this is similar to Peres' denial that there was ever a letter with promises to Arafat about Jerusalem, and later the letter surfaced. Now, this telegram was revealed about the Vatican plans. He said, who knows what else they're concealing from the public. Now, just so with the Ark of the Covenant. The time has now come to speak up. Anyway, something has to be told, so after much consideration, I'm now going to rip apart a curtain of silence, a cover-up concerning the Ark. And yes, I'm quite aware that the Ark has been reported in Ethiopia, in Jordan, in Egypt, and a dozen other places around the world. There have to be replicas because we're told that there were replicas made, and we should not be surprised if these replicas surface here and there. But originals, there can be only one, and this is the one we're talking about, the one that these 6 Israeli men tried to get and they all dropped dead. Now, you won't want to miss this incredible true story, because there's more than I'm telling you now. We just can't put it into a short broadcast, but there are down-to-earth inside secrets about this lost treasure, the dangerous search for it, and the almost unbelievable discovery claim. And when you face all the strands of evidence, what else can this be but the Ark? So I have prepared a report which I'll take you along a trail of archaeology surprises through forgotten history right up to this present time. Why was it, I ask you, that an Israeli ex-Secret Service agent said to me, when I gave a lecture on this and he was sitting in the audience and he came to me after the lecture, he said, "You have just filled in the missing gaps in what I already knew." Yes, there is a cover-up. What sinister secret associated with the Ark is being covered up?